greenish surface, and the team news as far as Worcestershire is concerned is that Joe Leach comes back into the side after missing a couple of games through injury, and Jack Haynes, however, does not return to the side following his knee injury. So Taylor Cornell keeps his place. Ed Pollock will open the batting with Jake Libby, and they're on the way out to the middle now. Alongside me, I'm very pleased to say, is Nick Webb of BBC Radio Wales, and Nick, you can bring us the Glamorgan team news.
Indeed, there are two changes from the side that started the last game against Sussex. I phrase it that way because it wasn't the same side that finished it, in that wicketkeeper Chris Cook is still unfit because of a calf injury, so Tom Cullen takes the gloves for the first time in the Championship this season. He has played but as a specialist batsman, so it's his second game, and James Harris is a like-for-like replacement in the seam attack for James Reel. Harris having done well in the second 11 game that he played a couple of weeks back, and just preferred to James Wheel. So men left out of the 14-man squad are Wheel, Andrew Gorvin and Dan Douthwaite.
Michael Neeser is going to take up the attack. First ball of the game. Imminent. He's bowling from the Diglis end in bright sunshine, and he's bowling to the left-handed Ed Pollock. 3 slips and a gully in place, and he aborts his run-up as he just doesn't quite get it right there. That 3 slips, not really a gully, you call it more a cover point, I suppose. He's quite deep in that position. Anyway, here comes Neeser, right arm over the wicket, bowls to the left-handed Pollock, and what a start! The middle stump absolutely uprooted. Ed Pollock pushing forward to a ball, have to say, looked as though he was beaten for pace to some extent, and the middle stump extracted clean out of the ground. Great start for Michael Neeser, great start for Glamorgan, terrible start for Ed Pollock and Worcestershire. They are 0 for 1 in the first over. Well, if he dreamt of a start, Michael Neeser, it would have been exactly that, Nick. Perfect dismissal from a fast bowler's point of view. Middle stump out of the ground.
Absolutely. Looking back on that, Ed Pollock will have concerns, I think, that there was a little gap between bat and pad, but as you say, it might have been a little bit of late on it anyway. It was just a fast, straight, excellent delivery, and he failed to keep it out. So welcome back to the side, Ed Pollock.
Yeah, poor old Ed Pollock. He's had not had a good run in T20, and he's walking off, I'm sure, feeling absolutely devastated. Azhar Ali is his replacement. Azhar Ali, who's been in excellent form for Worcestershire, started a little bit slowly in the Championship, but in recent games very much among the runs, shared a number of exceptional partnerships with young Jack Haynes, who has been Worcestershire's other standout batsman in this format, but unfortunately Haynes not playing today. So a great start for Glamorgan, a great start for Michael Neeser, coming in from the Diglis end and uprooting Ed Pollock's middle stump with the very first ball of the game. 2 right-handers now, so the field changes over. 3 slips still in place, and David Lloyd at first slip, the Glamorgan captain, already, I'm sure, feeling that he was justified in making that call to have a bowl when the coin came down in his favour. Here's Neeser, second ball of the game, bowls to Azhar Ali, and he's beaten outside the off stump. Looked like a good one, pushed at it and taken by the wicketkeeper. It's incredible really to think that just 2 balls into a game you can feel that the pressure is building, but it feels that way already. Good start from Neeser, great wicket first ball, beats the bat second ball, and immediately, even in the first over, there's some tension out there, and those 3 slips will be fancying that they could be in the action. Neeser in again, bowls, and Azhar this time covers up defensively on the back foot, just drops down on the offside, and restores a little bit of calm to proceedings.
Yes, I managed to have a look at the wicket while you were sorting out technical aspects, and it is, yes, green tinged, certainly, and slightly unusual looking surface. It's slightly on the mottled side, may well dry out and bake out if we get a consistent spell of sun.
Neeser in again, bowls, and Azar again just covering up, pushing out defensively on the onside, I beg your pardon, and there's no run. Yeah, it's well, they've been pretty flat here, to be fair, this year most of the time, and it could be that they've decided to leave a bit of grass on it to inject a little bit more life into it.
Yeah, it did look potentially spicy.
Quick update coming for BBC Hereford and Worcester listeners. Well, disastrous start for Worcestershire, I'm afraid, having lost the toss and been put into bat. They lost a wicket to the very first ball of the game when Ed Pollock, who'd returned to the side after illness in this format, was beaten by a full delivery from Michael Neeser, which uprooted his middle stump. Fantastic start for the visitors, and Worcestershire already on the back foot. Azhar Ali has come out to join Jake Libby. They haven't got the scoreboard moving yet. First over about to be completed. Worcestershire 0-for-1. Another dot ball there as Neeser comes in now to complete the first over, and he beats Azhar again with a real good one that went away off the pitch. That's a cracking over from Michael Neeser, wicket maiden to start the game, takes his cap from umpire Lungley, and he can walk away feeling pretty happy with the way the day has begun for him. Worcestershire on the other hand are in need of just a little bit, following the trials and tribulations of the white ball campaign. There's a mood around the camp a little bit, Nick, and I think they'll just want to just settle things down and play some steady cricket for an hour or two.
Yes, David Lloyd continuing a spell of putting opposition into bat, and Michael Hogan will try to take some more advantage of that from this New Road end. It's a reasonable morning. The cloud is high and whitish. There's a reasonable amount of blue sky overhead as Hogan bounds in and bowls, and it's played out on the offside by Libby, and there is no run. So if you are just joining us, two changes on either side from the previous championship game. Pollock for Haynes and Leach for Gibbon in the Worcestershire side. Cullen for Chris Cook and Harris for Wheel in the Glamorgan side. So David Lloyd acting as the fourth seamer for Glamorgan, Andrew Salters the spinner, as Hogan is in to bowl outside off stump, and through it goes to Cullen. Our vantage point is over a wideish mid-on stroke mid-wicket for the bowling from this end, and round about third man for the bowling from the Diglis end. But our voices do feature on the county stream as well, if you want a view straight down the wicket.
But don't blame us if we don't describe exactly what you see.
We'll do our best. Yeah. Hogan is into bowl, and Libby is struck in the stomach area, I think not too painfully, and the ball rolls down into the slip, so it's retrieved by northeast, and there's no run.
Yeah, I have to make that point, Nick, that people sometimes say, oh, for goodness sake, that wasn't going down the leg side. What are you talking about? Well, you can see, if you're watching the stream, you can see straight down the pitch. We are at wide mid-on. We can see the stream, but it's slightly delayed, so do forgive us if what we appear to describe doesn't seem to be what you're seeing.
Hogan is in, bowls, and Libby plays it back down the pitch. They think of a single, and Harris has a shy at the stumps at the non-striker's end as Azhar Ali is quickly sent back. That was a nervous moment from Jake Libby, who scored 184 against Glamorgan when they met in the COVID season of 2020. Should have been in a winning cause, but Worcestershire declared a bit too late to force victory on the final day. Here's Hogan wheeling round, and an easy rhythmic run in, bowls and beats the edge of Libby's bat as it goes through to Tom Cullen. Cullen keeping wicket for Glamorgan in the absence of Chris Cook, who's missed the 4 T20 games that we've had. Well, only 3 of them actually played, but Alex Horton did those duties. Now Tom Cullen is preferred for the Championship. Played at Derby as a batsman without making any real impact, but he'll be delighted to have the gloves back on as Hogan bowls, and there is the first run of the morning. In fact, it's run away for 4 down to fine leg, and Worcestershire are up and running, and there was a bit of bat involved, and Jake Libby is up to 4. It's 4 for 1 after 2 overs here on BBC Sport Online.
Yep, and this commentary being brought to you by myself, Frank Watson of BBC Heaven Worcester, and alongside me Nick Webb of BBC Radio Wales?
BBC Sport Wales, I think, is our branding these days, because it's mainly an online service rather than radio.
You can get in touch with us via Twitter if you would like to. Just give you those details in a minute. After I describe this delivery from Michael Neeser from the Digley End, he's into Azhar Ali, who plays that nicely with soft hands down on the offside into the gully, and there's no run. So on Twitter I am at Frank Watson 58, and Nick is at NickWebb 2017. Do get in touch if you have any observations to make about the game. I've had quite a few Worcestershire fans in touch recently with moans and groans about T20 cricket, but to be fair, in the red ball game Worcestershire's form has been pretty steady. Here's Neeser in again, bowls to Azhar Ali, who is back and plays that back up the pitch to the bowler. Indeed, if they'd have won their first game at Leicester when they only needed 1 more wicket and had a lot of overs in which to take it, but the Leicestershire last pair held out, they would have had more points and obviously would be clear in third. As it is, I think they're 1 point behind Glamorgan, and third, fourth, fifth is all very, very tight. But to be fair, red ball form has been solid. Here's Michael Neeser again from the Digley End in bowls, and good pace as Azhar Ali is hurried into that, plays a kind of awkward defensive shot really, half forward, pushes back up to the bowler. No run. Good start by Glamorgan, good accurate start, apart from that one last ball of the second over from Hogan that drifted into Libby's pads. They've made the batsman play, picked up a wicket with the first ball of the game obviously, and they've just been at it, as the saying goes. 3 slips in place, all waiting eagerly as Hogan bowls, and that's a good lead from Azhar Ali, just outside the off stump, just back of a length, and he lifts his arms well clear.
Yeah, Glamorgan will be dependent on these two to shoulder quite a lot of the onus of their seam attack. James Harris has been a little bit in and out of the side. He's just got the 7 wickets so far this season. That was Neeser's 26th when he bowled Ed Pollock. Hogan, the retiring Michael Hogan, enjoy him while you can, Welsh listeners. He has 20 wickets, and 18th to spinner Andrew Salter.
Oh, pretty healthy returns there. Is Neeser again bowls, and Azhar is off the mark, capitalising on what was, it's only been genuinely the second loose delivery of the day really, just drifting into the pads of Azhar Ali, and he's very strong in that area, like a lot of subcontinental batsmen. Doesn't try to hit it too hard, just timed it nicely, just worked it through mid-wicket, squarish mid-wicket for 4.
I see he's off for a while to Sri Lanka after this game.
Yeah, he is missing 2 games I think, which is a disappointment. 8 for 1 now Worcestershire. He's made a big impact, Azhar Ali, here at New Road. Neeser again bowls, and Azhar Ali pushes out on the offside, thinks about a run, turns it down, end of the over, 8 for 1, Azhar Ali 4, Libby 4. He's made a big impact on the field, but also very much off the field. Great influence from what I've heard in the dressing room, big influence on Jack Haynes. I've heard they've shared some big partnerships, and just an all-round good guy from what I've heard.
It's always useful, isn't it, when your overseas player turns out to have an influence beyond the dressing room.
Yeah, absolutely.
Marnus Labuschagne was keen to do that in his spells here, and hopefully will return to Glamorgan next season, though nothing is signed, as Hogan bowls, and that's given out. It's a prod forward by Libby, feather through behind, and Worcestershire are 8 for 2 in the 4th over. Just the faintest of feathers, but they're all up immediately. Tom Cullen takes the catch. Michael Hogan has his 21st wicket of the season. Worcestershire in disarray.
Yeah, and Jake Libby, who's had a disappointing season by his own standards, after doing brilliantly for Worcestershire in his first 2 seasons with the club. He's out for 4, it's 8 for 2. And we're going to have a rookie coming in there, Taylor Cornell coming in. It's only his 2nd appearance in Championship cricket. He's only batted once. He opened the batting at Durham, and he was the unluckiest man in the whole game, because on a pitch that played pretty well throughout, he got one second ball of the innings that shot along the ground and bowled him, and there was nothing he could do about it. Be a nervous young man as he comes out today, Taylor Cornell from Lancashire, young left-hander, and well, it doesn't get much tougher than this, does it? 8 for 2.
That's something of a baptism of fire, isn't it? And 2 very experienced bowlers with the bit between their teeth, and Michael Hogan and Michael Neeser will be looking to knock over a couple more if they possibly can in these opening spells to justify David Lloyd's decision to bowl first, which I wasn't surprised at, having seen the wicket at close quarters. Message on Twitter. Graham Smith tells me that Rory Smith is playing with Ed Pollock's brother Alistair for Old Salopians against Old Harrovians in the Cricketers' Cup today. So it'd be good to see Rory Smith back bowling at some point. He's done unfortunately little this season. Played for the Seconds last time out as a specialist batsman, and their T20 went. As Hogan is in to bowl to the new batsman, and Cornell is off the mark. First ball, he'll be relieved of that. Slightly tentative prod, and angled the ball down to the 3rd man for a single. 9 for 2, Worcestershire. As the field swaps round for the right-hander Azhar Ali. He'll need to give all the words of encouragement that he can to the young man at the other end. So the maxim is that if you put the opposition in, you expect 3 wickets at least by lunch. Glamorgan have 2 of them as Hogan bowls to Azhar, who pushes that one down into the gully, and there's no run. But further overseas arrival, Mohammed Hasnain.
Yeah. I was just going to say before Libby was out, I was just going to bring that up. I think again that's owes something to Azhar Ali's connections, but it is a bit of a gamble. He's only played 6 first-class games in his career. He's obviously very quick, but has mainly made his name with the white ball.
Oh well, it could be fun here. As Hogan bowled to Azhar on the back foot, who plays down to point, and there's no run.
I mean, he's been clocked mid-90s, I think, at various times. Yeah. So we're hoping that he'll provide perhaps a spearhead that's been lacking a bit in the Worcestershire seam attack. But it's a punt, isn't it? Really, I suppose.
Yes, it'd be asking him a lot to play those back-to-back games at the end of the season if he hasn't played that much first-class cricket before in terms of workload. Hogan is in to bowl to Azhar, who plays on the offside, scrambling stop by Carlson at cover, and there is no run. So it's a reasonable crowd here. I thought there might be a few more on a pleasant enough Sunday.
Yeah, I did as well, actually. It's not bad, but I thought there might be a few more. But there might be a bit of a hangover from the white ball campaign. Yes, as Hogan is into bowl to Azhar, and that's outside off stump, allowed to go through. Single off the over. Cornell has 1, Azhar has 1 boundary.
Worcestershire 9 for 2. I think though the people who tend to be county members tend to be the ones who prefer the championship anyway, so you'd hope that there wouldn't be that much crossover in terms of support levels.
Yeah, I agree. It's a concern. It was something I was talking to Alan Richardson, the bowling coach, about at Edgbaston on Friday night, about how important it was that you don't get a kind of carryover of mood from one format to another, because I think it's fair to say that Worcestershire, particularly on Friday night, not just on Friday night, but especially on Friday night, losing heavily, very heavily at Edgbaston in front of a big crowd to their local rivals, were in a bad place as Neeser bowls, and this is pushed by Cornell back up the pitch, and that's good running actually, because he saw that it had gone pretty straight, and once it had passed Neeser's right hand mid-off, had a long way to come across, and he called Azhar Ali through. There is always a danger of a run out with Azhar Ali. He was run out in his first innings for Worcestershire when he slipped, and there have been one or two little mix-ups since, until, well, these two won't ever have batted together before either. 10 for 2, Neeser into the right-handed Azhar, who pushes this back up the pitch, and the bowler falls over in his follow-through, and then realises the ball's coming past him, sticks out a foot and a hand and whatever, doesn't manage to save it, but they don't get a run anyway. So all that action and no change on the scoreboard.
Yes, it does look alarming when Neeser falls over, but he tends to do it quite a lot, as does James Wheels. So I think with those two in the attack, you see more bowlers falling over in the Glamorgan seam attack than you would in the course of a season. It seems
more common though, generally these days, bowlers falling over, and I've read one theory about it. Neeser in again, bowls, stands on his feet this time, and Azhar Ali is on the back foot and pushing up to mid-on, and I've read that the groundsmen are generally filling in the ends these days. This wouldn't apply this morning obviously, but it could be that it's a bit skiddy because of all that grass that you were talking about, but they're filling in the ends with excuse me, apparently a more solid setting mixture than they used to, and consequently bowlers' studs are sliding on the top of it at certain times, and that might be why they're falling over. And some of the bowlers have said they'd like to, that's why you see them hacking away at it with their studs sometimes. Is Neeser in again, bowls, that's outside the off stump to Azhar Ali. Good leave, because came back a little bit off the pitch, hence Neeser's hands on head at the end of his follow through, because after he'd left it, Azhar, it seemed back and only just missed the off stump, but good leave. And Azhar has faced 18 balls for his 4, exactly the way that he plays, willing to just see off the shine, work through the difficult periods, and then capitalise later. Neeser in, bowls, and that's a really good one from Michael Neeser, which was just a little bit shorter. Maybe just put a bit more into that, and it climbed a bit. It doesn't look easy out there at the moment, batting, I must say. When the bowlers get the ball in the right place, there's a bit of lateral movement, and that one bounced a bit as well. So good testing spell from the Glamorgan opening bowlers, having been given the opportunity to get out there on this greenish pitch by their captain David Lloyd when he won the toss this morning. Here's Neeser once again, moving towards us from the Diglis end bowls, and nicely played by Azhar, getting in behind it, dropping it down with very soft hands, and that's a good over from Michael Neeser, who picked up a wicket with the first ball of the game and now has the excellent figures of 3 overs, 1 maiden, 1 for 5. Worcestershire are 10 for 2.
Do you have a feeling that it's a conscious attempt to prepare a results pitch, if you like, with Worcestershire having more draws than most?
I can't say yes or no to that with any authority. I think pitches have tended to be a little bit flat here for a couple of years.
Here's Hogan trying to disprove that, and Cornell is forward, playing firmly defensively out to Carlson at cover. Carlson is in one of those in-between positions where he's trying to do duties at cover and mid-off at the same time, as we often see in the opening overs when there are 3 slips in place. There's Glamorgan have 3 slips. The third man, point, cover on the offside. Hogan in, bowls, and Cornell leaves outside off stump through to the keeper, Tom Cullen. Mid-on is fairly conventional. James Harris, Billy Root is only just in front of the umpire at square leg. And there is a fine leg in the far distance. So 10 for 2 in this 6th over of the day. Teams back in championship action then, back to T20 next weekend. Hogan bowls, and that's defended by Cornell back down the pitch. Carlson jogs round from cover to field. So they've tried to stick the T20 stuff mostly at weekends, but that has resulted in a horrible little back and forth between the two formats for a few weeks, and I suspect they'd be better off playing the T20 in a chunk, the 4 championship matches in a chunk. As Cornell drives but doesn't beat Carlson, scampering round from cover, no run.
Yeah, I agree with you, Nick. I think it's difficult. I mean, I know we used to have the days where they'd start a game on a Thursday and then stop it on a Saturday and play a 40 over game on a Sunday and then resume it on the Monday, but those days are long gone, and I think the games are more different now than ever, and it's extremely difficult for the players and the coaches, everybody, the captains.
Here's Hogan into Cornell, who turns it on the leg side, thinks about a single, but Harris has anticipated well in this round from mid-wicket. Speaking of coaches, Glamorgan a man down for this match with Matthew Maynard following affairs back in and is home just north of Cardiff, and our best wishes to you, Matthew, if you are listening to us, for a speedy recovery. Hope it's not affecting you too badly. Glamorgan have had 1 or 2 COVID issues. Michael Hogan forced out the Sussex Championship match and then missing a couple of T20 matches, and Michael Neeser missed a couple before that. But now they're reunited and causing Worcestershire problems as Cornell gets his bat high and well out of the way, out of a shortish delivery from Hogan. Through to Cullen, end the over 10 for 2 at the end of 6 here on BBC Sport Online and on the Worcestershire and Glamorgan websites from BBC Hereford Worcester and BBC Sport Wales.
Good pace from Hogan and Neeser, and good carry, which is one benefit perhaps. I know certain groundsmen feel that if you leave a bit more grass on it, also, as well as lateral movement, it also increases carry through to the keeper, and these two have certainly been getting it through. It's testing, as I say, out there for these two batsmen. Excuse me again. Here comes Neeser to Azhar Ali outside the off stump again. Good pace there through to the keeper as Azhar leaves that one alone. Bright sunshine here this morning at New Road. If you are thinking of coming down, don't hesitate. I think it'll be a good day's cricket. It's Old Players' Day here, so you might see a few Worcestershire faces that you recognise walking around the ground, and there's a memorabilia exhibition taking place in the marquee over by the one remaining chestnut tree, now that we've lost a couple to disease, very sadly. But it's a good day to be here, despite the fact that Worcestershire are up against it at the moment. You're not missing any cricket. Azhar Ali is just adjusting his equipment, replaces his gloves, does everything in his own time, Azhar Ali, like a lot of good players. Neeser is in and he lets that go again. Good leave outside the off stump. Neeser's really into his work this morning, not surprisingly, having picked up that wicket with the first ball, but he's believing, I think, as he runs in, that something's going to happen, and trying really hard to get what I have to say now looks like a big wicket, doesn't it, with Libby gone and Haynes not playing. D'Oliveira and Barnard, the next two sort of recognised proper batsmen, but Azhar is the glue that holds it all together, you feel. Neeser in, bowls, and he lets that go again outside the off stump, taken by Cullen.
Yeah, I suppose with Roderick at 7, I mean, he's batted in the top 3 for Gloucestershire, hasn't he, in the past?
He has, but his form since coming here has not been at all good. It's showed signs of improvement. He played his best innings for Worcestershire in any format, in my opinion, at Durham about 10 days ago, 8 days ago, but he's struggled. So yeah, I agree with you. He's got the background, but it's been a hard work for him since he came to New Road. Neeser again bowls, and Azza gets a run, and there haven't been many of those around today. He steers this off a thickish outside edge all along the ground down to third man, where Hogan is the fielder. So Azar goes to 5. He's faced 24 deliveries for those runs, and Worcestershire in the 7th over, having been put into bat, are 11 for 2. The men out. Pollock first ball without scoring, and Libby for 4.
Joe Leach back in the side, I guess, adds a bit of ballast to the lower middle order, doesn't it?
And he has batted well this year. Actually, in the games that he's played, he's been showing signs of the quality of batsmanship that he had at the beginning of his career. Neeser bowls again. Cornell plays this back to him, and the bowler fields and shies immediately at the stumps, forcing Cornell to take evasive action. He wasn't anywhere near out of his ground, but he's a pumped up fast bowler at the moment, Michael Neeser, and well he might be. 1 for 6, 1 ball left in his 4th over.
Well, I don't think he's likely to last in his career as long as Hogan, but Glamorgan will be keen to have him on their books as long as possible, as long as the body will stand it.
Comes in again now and bowls, and Cornell gets 4, I think, or it might be leg byes, and it might not go for 4. Yes, it will go for 4. It's leg byes, just off his thigh pad, so an error in line from Neeser. Last ball of the over, and Worcestershire, grateful for all offerings, move on to 15 for 2.
Yeah, Michael Neeser, I say he might not last as long as Hogan, simply by the fact that Hogan didn't start his first-class career until the age of 28. So he's retiring aged 41 at the end of this season.
Brilliant to run in like this, though, isn't it? At 40, goodness me.
Yes, he's feeling it a little bit more in between games at the moment, I think.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So Hogan it is, who runs away from us at the New Road end and bowls to Azza, who's forward, pushing it out on the offside, and I think what may give potential rise to misunderstandings, that his natural movement is to take a step or two down the wicket, which is good aggressive cricket, but I can see how it might potentially mislead
until you get used to it,
until you think, yes, he's always doing that. That's the default position. Now are we going for a run? 15 for 2. Hogan to Azza, who pushes that one down backward of square on the leg side. Root fields, and they go through for a quick single. 16 for 2.
Have you got 11:30?
No, I won't have any radio engagements until 1 o'clock at the earliest.
I'll have one shortly. It'll just come through.
I shall try and shut up at the appropriate juncture. So I shan't be offended whatsoever. Don't worry. Used to when you've done the county circuit a few years, you get used to blasts of radio stations at moments expected or unexpected. Hogan bowls, and Cornell is forward, defending firmly to Carlson at mid-off, and there is no run.
Big innings for Cornell, this, I think. Big innings. He would have been gutted by what happened at Durham, and he only got one chance to bat in that game, and probably wouldn't have played today if Haynes had been fit. So really, really keen to at least get a 20 or a 30, I would think, here.
As Hogan is in to bowl, and Cornell plays solidly defensively. It's looking all right at the moment, as the 23-year-old, born at Lytham St Anne's in Lancashire, was on the Lancashire books last year, but only played limited overs cricket. And background at Leeds Bradford MCCU.
Yeah, and league cricket, I think, in Lancashire.
So he'd have played at 1 or 2 first-class games when the universities still counted as first class, which they don't anymore.
Here comes that update. Well, it's a real struggle, I'm afraid, for the home side. They lost the toss and were put into bat. They then lost Ed Pollock to the very first ball of the game. He saw his middle stump uprooted by the Glamorgan seamer Michael Neeser. Jake Libby is also out. He went in the fourth over. That was 8 for 2 when he was caught behind by Cullen off the bowling of Michael Hogan for 4. And Worcestershire are up against it against a really good Glamorgan seam attack. Michael Neeser and Michael Hogan, the veteran, sharing the attack and both bowling extremely tidily at the moment. Although as I speak, Taylor Cornell, the young left-hander playing in only his second game, hits a lovely boundary down to long on to take Worcestershire's score on to 20 for 2. Cornell is on 6, so is Azhar Ali, but it's hard work for the pairs. Yeah, lovely shot that to finish the over.
Yeah, just lend into it, send it back where it came from. Worcestershire 20 for 2 on Twitter. Galagog says, I used to carefully balance a full plate of homemade cakes that Worcester he's talking about to the young lady sitting on the opposite side of the ground. Never lost one. Well, that's a way to win a young lady's heart.
Yeah. Are they still together? They probably are. 20 for 2. Azhar 6, Cornell 6, Michael Neeser 4 overs, 1 for 6 so far, is in and bowls and runs for Azhar here, just tucked away off his pads, and it's a short boundary out on the cathedral side of the ground, and consequently that races away for 4, and the score, beginning just to gain a little bit of momentum, goes on to 24 for 2. Azhar into double figures, he's on 10. The pitch is situated, I would say, 2/3 of the way across the square from the pavilion, if you know your new road, over to the cathedral side. So the boundary rope, which has to be in from the boards these days for health and safety reasons, means that boundary is not the longest. Neeser again bowls. Azhar is forward, plays defensively, back up the pitch on the onside, no run. And on the Graham Hick Pavilion side of the ground, the rope is also in some 20-25 yards. Saw them marking it out with the old wheel from the middle this morning. Maybe, what is it? Probably about 70 yards. That boundary is not as big as it could be.
This looks a little bit less than that to me.
It's not the biggest playing area.
Thought they might have left the rope a bit
further
out.
further, and they brought it in this morning when they were setting things up. But on whose instruction, I have no idea. Here's Neeser. Again he bowls, and Azhar is again very watchfully in behind that. He has this very deliberate method, gets in behind the ball and then sort of plays the backward defensive and then just walks after it, pushes it up to mid-on. Characteristic style that he has, Azhar Ali. 24 for 2. He's on 10. He's faced 29 deliveries. He's been in since the second ball of the game. And he's setting his stall out, you feel. Big wicket. Neeser again bowls to him and plays that again expertly, really. Just rides any bounce and gets the soft hands and just steers it down to backward point for a single. Goes up to 11, 25 for 2. Had the pleasure of watching Cheteshwar Pujara get a double 100 here earlier in the season for Sussex, and I've watched quite a lot of Azhar Ali, and they're very different, but in method, but in terms of the way they approach the innings and the tempo and the way that they conduct themselves at the crease, I feel there are quite a lot of similarities. Very deliberate, repeated patterns of their setup and so on. Neeser into Cornell. Cornell turns this on the leg side, down into the ground. Very good diving stop at short leg by Eddie Byram.
Yeah, it's
athletic work.
It's unusual. Glamorgan don't that often have a short leg into the faster bowlers.
Yeah, interesting that. I was going to say about 3 or 4 overs ago, when that one bounced to Azhar and he left it, that I thought it might be a pitch where you might have a short leg in with these two, because there's a bit of bounce in it, isn't there? Anyway, it was a good stop. Neeser in again, bowls, ooh, and that has caused Cornell some discomfort there. It's run away on the onside for, well, it's given dead ball, umpire Tom Lungley. Just let it hit him, didn't he? And I think it's hit him on the head, and they're calling on the physio to go through the usual concussion protocols. But that was, well, he took his eye off it, didn't he? And it looked as though it took him by surprise, really.
That's unusual, isn't it, to get no shot called for that sort of delivery, because you think that the batter is usually either taking evasive action or playing a shot, both of which you can accumulate leg byes from, but just to let it strike you is unusual. Cornell seems relatively unperturbed, chatting away to Azhar Ali. Helmet off, and on will come the medical checks. Edward Cooper on Twitter let me know that St Helens Balconeers would be attending to check the culinary features of New Road, hoping the ice cream van has survived. Is that the ice cream van at Cow Corner towards the cathedral?
Yeah, it is.
Is there homemade cake from the ladies' pavilion?
There should be. There should be.
There we are.
Yeah, there should be later. I'm in two minds about this one. Whether you take, I mean, if you're not taking evasive action, does that mean you're just letting the ball hit you?
Well, that's what it implies, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that wasn't my impression of what happened, really. But it's a tricky one, isn't it?
Gets a bang on the head and doesn't even get a leg by from it. David Battersby is here. He says, cake from the ladies' pavilion. Also a memorabilia market. That's you, is it? The part of the memorabilia market?
There's a memorabilia market at the end of the market.
Oh, right.
And please, Worcestershire listeners, don't judge me for mentioning it again, but Darryl Mitchell will be in there at various times today, and I'll be joining him, I hope, at some stage. And he is available to sign copies of his autobiography that I helped him with, and if anybody wants me to sign it as well, I can do that. It's on sale in the club shop, and we've also got some copies with us as well. So if you want to read Darryl's autobiography and you haven't got it already, then and you want to get it signed, then today is a good opportunity.
I'm sure he's a popular man here after so many years as a county stalwart.
Yeah.
If you're just joining us and you're wondering why we're not commentating on the action in front of us, that's because Taylor Cornell is undergoing a concussion check of some nature, and they obviously do the best they can, but having recently attended a sort of seminar from World Rugby on concussion checks in rugby. Cricket is a little bit more basic still. Rugby, they have to take them off the field, and they have to remain off for 12 minutes while they go through a series of checks. And to be honest, I'm surprised that any players pass them at all, because they get fired these series of words and they have to repeat back a minimum of I think it's 6 out of 12 or something, and then they're asked them again several minutes later, and frankly I'd have forgotten them, and especially I'd have forgotten them if I were commentating, let alone putting the body on the line in the middle there. It's an interesting process.
Yeah, having said that, that must have been quite a crack on Taylor Corner's helmet. When you look how far that ball went.
Yeah. They took a single to mid-wicket eventually.
And it would worry me if 5 minutes later somebody said you're okay. I think you need longer than that. I mean, I genuinely, if it would be my recommendation after a blow like that the batsman retires and another batsman comes in, and then you see what he's like an hour later or something. Because that was a heck of a crack, wasn't it?
Umpires Steve O'Shaughnessy and Tom Lungley for this game to...
They're bringing out. You have to have a new helmet.
You have to have a new helmet. So that presumably the fact that one is being brought out means that Taylor Cornell is being allowed to carry on. But certainly that was a worrying moment at the end of Neeser's over. He's bowled 5 overs, 1 for 11. The checks are continuing on Mr. Cornell's welfare. So. Give you the latest from the test match is that New Zealand are 184 for 5. That's a lead of 153 runs over England, with Darryl Mitchell, no relation, and Tom Blundell still at the crease, so could be could even be over there today. It's day 4 of 5. In Division 2, 2 other matches ongoing. Nottinghamshire are 19 for 1 against Middlesex, having decided to bat first. Slater going early to Roland Jones. And Sussex against Derbyshire down on the south coast of England. The visitors, Derbyshire, decided to bat first, and they are 28 for 2. A couple of wickets for the young seamer Sean Hunt for Sussex. It seems almost superfluous to say young in describing a Sussex player, because they're nearly all young.
Got some good young players there, haven't they? I mean, I know they've had their trials and tribulations, but one or two of their young players are very impressive. I think Daniel Ibrahim impressed me a lot last year here.
They were beaten by Glamorgan last time out in the championship, but certainly Lennon was useful and threatening. Ollie Carter got 185, more than doubling his previous best. And when you have other youngsters such as Tom Clark and even the skipper Tom Haynes is only 23. The checks are continuing with Taylor Cornell.
It's a worry, isn't it? If they're checking this long, I think it's a worry. There we go. You mentioned Daryl Mitchell, the New Zealand Daryl Mitchell, and I often say don't get your Daryl Mitchell mixed up, but Cricket Archive, which is a website that we all use, when I was doing my research for the book, I found several confusions between the two Daryl Mitchells, bizarrely because they were both in Perth at the same time in Australia for a couple of winters when the Worcestershire Daryl Mitchell was young and went over there as a young player, and the Kiwi Daryl Mitchell was growing up in Perth. And I said to the Worcestershire Daryl Mitchell, did you play for the Western Australia Centre of Cricketing Excellence while you were there? And he said, no, I only played for the club. And I had to contact Cricket Archive. There were 6 games. The wrong one.
Right, we are going to get underway. James Harris will take over from Michael Hogan at this new road end. He'll be bowling to Azhar Ali. Taylor Cornell is judged fit to continue, and James Harris is in to bowl to Azhar. It's rather wide loosener outside off stump, and Azhar has nothing to do with it. Playing in my university second 11 many years ago, I also had another Nick Webb in the side, and I don't have any middle initials, so he had to use his. He was Nick R.D. Webb or some such. So
he had 3 initials. That
went down
as well.
I've collected a few Nick Webbs on Twitter over the years, so welcome along to any Nick Webbs listening. 25 for 2. Harris bowls, and Azhar slashes that one away backward of square on the offside, and no one really moves as the ball went flashing to the boundary. Really laid into that one, and Worcestershire move up to 29 for 2, and Azhar to 15 not out as Harris, oh dear, again a little bit of a loosener, and this time Azhar did take advantage of it, lashed it away to the boundary in front of the cathedral. Azhar to 15, and Harris is in to bowl, and that's more runs through the offside. I'm not sure if this one will go to the boundary. Kieran Carlson is in hot pursuit. He manages to dab it back just inside the ropes. It is a reasonably shortish boundary on that cathedral side, and keeps them down to 2 runs, 31 for 2, but Harris needs to find his mojo quickly. He's had a bit up and down this season. He claimed 4 wickets against Middlesex at home, but then struggled a bit up at Derby. As Harris into bowl, outside off stump, allowed to go through by Azhar Ali, but Harris did take 7 wickets, I believe it was, in a second 11 championship match at Abergavenny recently, so must be judged that he is back in some sort of form. Small group of Welsh spectators down in front of us, enjoying the look of the scoreboard. 31 for 2. You're on BBC Sport Online. Harris in to Azza, and he drives pleasantly, but it's well fielded by the bowler in his follow through, and there is no run as the breeze starts to get up a little bit around New Road. Trees waving quite noticeably in the breeze, and Frank goes for his sweater.
Yeah. End of my spell.
Harris is into bowl to Azza, who pushes defensively on the offside, rolls out to Carlson at cover, and there is no run. 10 overs gone, 31 for 2 Worcestershire, having been 8 for 2, so a mini recovery underway between Azza and Cornell. If you're wondering why there's only 10 overs bowled in, was it 48 minutes? That is because of a long break for concussion checks to young Taylor Cornell.
Bowling figures so far then: Neeser 5 overs, 1 maiden, 1 for 11, and he is continuing. Yes, he is continuing from the Diglis end. Hogan 4 overs, 1 maiden, 1 for 10. They've both bowled extremely well, and Harris just that 1 over costing 6. So has Taylor Cornell recovered? What will his frame of mind be? Just been hit quite hard on the helmet. Neeser comes in and bowls, and this one is short again, and got in a bit of a mess with it really. I think he wanted to leave it. It was quite close to him. He ended up neither leaving it nor playing at it really. Discomforted again by the pace. Good delivery. Short, not really short, but short enough to climb to sort of rib shoulder height, and well directed from Neeser. And Cornell's uncomfortable at the moment.
Yeah, no sentiment in cricket. If you suspect there's a weakness, you go for it.
Absolutely. And he's coming in again now to bowl to Cornell, who this time plays it well, gets in behind it, pushes it down on the offside defensively, so he'll feel a little bit better, but I've no doubt that his heart will be racing a little bit out there at the moment, the young man. And this is how batsmen are made. You go through these tough situations, come out the other side, and you're a bigger and better player for it. You've got to go through them though. There's no easy way to success in professional batting. Neeser again bowls, and this one again is banged in short of the length, and again Cornell shows good courage and discipline, getting right in behind it and dropping it down on the offside. 31 for 2 it remains.
Yes, it looks as though Neeser's determined to give him a bit of a barrage, doesn't it?
Yeah, but as you say, it's quite rightly. I think his captain would be asking questions if he weren't.
But there was a short leg in before that, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was, and I think that's when I still think that one that climbed earlier at Azza quite steeply encouraged that. But that's well played by Cornell. Again, just back of a length, and he gets up on his toes and clips it neatly through mid. Yeah, and he's going to end up getting 3. Got 2, but overthrow. Throw coming in from Carlson, and it wasn't backed up, and that was a bit sloppy really. He gets 3 Cornell, he goes to 9, 34 for 2.
Yeah, I think there was a fielder trying to assist Neeser, but they both just missed it, and then in the end Salter had to sprint back and just hold it up inside the boundary.
Nearly 6, but there you go. Cornell getting a little bit of fortune. Probably best bit of it as far as he's concerned is that he got off strike. Neeser bowls a massive bouncer to Azar, which climbs over the batsman's head. It's going to be called no ball by umpire Lungley, I think. Indeed it is, and they went through for 2 as well. So
Worcestershire getting some bonus runs in this over.
Runs they didn't really expect here, and Neeser's not a happy chappy at the moment. He's hit Taylor Cornell on the helmet, he's beaten him with the next ball, discomforted him a couple of times, and now he's seen an overthrow and one go climbing over Tom Cullen's head. And I
don't think you could blame Cullen though. He did well to prevent it from being 4 byes.
He did. 38 for 2. Neeser in, bowls. Azar just pushes characteristically out on the onside, and there's no run. So Azar is 17, Cornell is 9. If you're just joining us, 38 for 2, Worcestershire having been put into bat. They lost Ed Pollock to the very first ball of the game when he saw his off stump, his middle stump I should say, extracted completely. A clinical demolition by Michael Neeser. 0 for 1 off one ball, and then 8 for 2 when Livy was caught behind off Hogan in the 4th over. Neeser in, bowls to Azza, who drives on the offside, and there's a good diving, sprawling stop by Salter at cover point. They set off almost for a run and quickly retreated when they saw that he'd made the save. End of the over from Neeser. 6 overs, 1 maiden, 1 for 16 his figures. Worcestershire are 38 for 2.
As David Lloyd exits towards the pavilion, the Glamorgan captain, which is I suspect to slip a different pair of boots on to come into the attack. Andrew Gorvin, wearing 11, is the substitute fielder, and James Harris will go into his second over. 4-2 off the first one as he strayed a little outside Azrali's off stump, but he's got the inexperienced Taylor Cornell to bowl at now, the young left-hander from Lancashire, as Harris in bowls, and that one is a short delivery that he didn't really have under control. The ball runs down to fine leg, and Cornell has a single and he's off the strike, but at Harris's lesser pace than Neeser, he didn't look in very comfortable with that one at all.
Well directed one, and he just kind of took the bottom hand off and just fended it off his nose, didn't he, really? Down, it must be said, but yeah, he wasn't in control.
Harris is not express pace these days. He's working more on guile than flat out speed, but that one was decent enough speed, and it's well defended by Azza out on the offside. Harris back with Glamorgan after 9 years on the Middlesex staff. Spent half a dozen years with Glamorgan at the start of his career as well, so a very experienced county player is James Harris. England Lions honours in several matches. Harris is in to bowl to Azza, who defends back to the bowler, and there's no run.
Took over from Darryl Mitchell as PCA chair as well, didn't he?
That's right, yeah. He's
still in that role.
He is, yes, intelligent man. As PCA will have presumably a bit of negotiating to do in the discussions over the future structure of county cricket. As Harris bowls and Azza plays it out on the offside, and there is no run. He said the feeling from the players was that there's generally too much cricket, but whether that translates into a reduction in the number of fixtures played at county level, and that's going to displease the paying public, with the traditional wing of it wanting as much red ball cricket as possible, and the younger section of the audience wanting as much T20 as possible. Turned into leg side by Azza. There'll be at least a couple of runs here. Hogan is pursuing it towards us at long on. They'll turn and have a think of a third. They'll have to hurry up as the throw comes in. There's an appeal. Harris is confident, but the umpire says no. Well, that always looked a dubious run to a fielder like Hogan with a very strong arm, and it wasn't the longest of boundaries. And Azza Ali almost ran himself out there. I think that was very potentially close.
It was if there was a third umpire, he would have been involved. I think Steve O'Shaughnessy got himself into a very good position, to be fair, but
yeah, if there's any doubt in real time,
yeah, very difficult. I mean, I umpired lots in school cricket, and I think you've probably done a fair bit, Nick, in your time as a club cricketer and whatever. I don't know, but I think the one thing we all learned when the third umpire came in was how many run-outs that we've given not out because of all the moving parts were actually out. Really, it's extraordinary, isn't it? And you see them on TV and you think, oh, he's in, and then they show it and he's good 3-4 inches, sometimes more out.
Realistically, in real time, it probably has to be half a metre out, doesn't it, for an umpire to be able to say that he's definitely out.
So many moving parts, I think it's very difficult. Anyway, benefit of the doubt goes to Azza. He's fortunate, he's on 20.
As Harris is into bowl, and Cornell plays that nicely through the leg side. Will race away to the shortish mid-wicket boundary by the hotel for 4 runs, and Worcestershire have accelerated their scoring rate. They are 46 for 2 at the end of 12 overs.
Yeah, good shot from Cornell. Much happier, obviously, when the ball's pitched up to him at the moment, having had a bang on the helmet and 1 or 2 other discomforting experiences, and the physio's gone out there again now. He's going to I quite like this. He's going out, he said, well, I've done my checks 10 minutes ago and I'm going to just check now whether he got hit again. He didn't get hit again, did he? But he's just checking, and he's taking his phone out. Maybe he's got to do some sort of little reaction test or something. Or maybe his mum's been on. Maybe she wants to know, are you alright, son?
Oh dear.
Could be, I don't know.
I had a bang on the head keeping wicket a couple of weeks ago, and my wife said afterwards, wondered why you were lying down. Yes. Thank you very much indeed.
Anyway, he's out there. It genuinely looks as though it is some sort of test there to do. I'll try and find out a bit later. It's quite interesting if it is. 46 for 2 anyway. Azarali on 20, Cornell on 14. Michael Neeser is going to carry on, or is he? No, I think, is there going to be a change? I think there is a change, isn't there?
May well be David Lloyd into the attack.
David Lloyd, yeah, it is David Lloyd.
Having
hasn't been announced yet.
Shuffled off to change his boots, and the skipper has, he's been bowling a bit more in recent matches. He didn't take a wicket for the first 4. So his bowling figures aren't great for the season. He's pulled it back a little bit. He's got 5 wickets, but they're still at 66, which he'll look to improve on. He's better than that, but with Glamorgan,
he comes in now anyway from the Digless end and starts with a ball just short of length to Azhar Ali, who works it away on the onside for a single wide of Neeser at mid-on, and they go to 47 for 2. Azhar Ali is 21.
The best way to explain it is that Glamorgan basically had one more seamer in there set up for the first few matches of the season, so Lloyd didn't need to bowl as much, therefore only used himself in when things were going against them, so his figures weren't great at the start of the season, but now he's 4th seamer rather than 5th in this particular structure.
And he comes in now, staying over the wicket to the left-handed Cornell, who covers up and pushes defensively back to the bowler, does his own fielding, and there's no run. Crowd, a bit disappointing, I would say, as you pointed out, Nick, really, for a fairly fine, it's not hot, it's not flaming June, but it's reasonable weather, and it's set to remain dry. Lloyd in again, bowls, and Cornell plays this flamboyantly off his hip, a flick of the wrists down to long leg. Hogan Fields fires the throw back into the wicketkeeper Cullen, and they go through for another single. So battling away Taylor Cornell, 15 of 24 deliveries, having suffered one very, very unpleasant blow on the helmet. And Azhar Ali on strike on 21 of 44. A much more sedate and calm presence at the crease. Drives nicely up to mid-off. Fielded by Carlson, and there's no run.
It's the sort of calming presence that's been provided in the Glamorgan lineup this year by Sam Northeast, who, although he proved that he can hit the ball hard in T20 on Tuesday night, is by nature that sort of player.
Lloyd again in bowls, and Azhar is dropped at second slip. David Lloyd can't believe it, got that one to bounce and leave the right-hander.
Oh dear.
And It is that man, Sam Northeast.
Having just talked him up, that was the...
It was a sharp one. It was high to his left, but he got both hands to it, and he knocked it up in the air, and then as he fell to the ground, it just evaded his grip. David Lloyd can't believe it. Was a good delivery. Just left Azar off the pitch. He would be possibly disappointed that he played it, because he's an expert lever. Lloyd again bowls, and he does leave this one this time. It's almost exactly the same delivery. End of the over. Lloyd is cursing his luck. He could have had a wicket in his first over. As it is, Azza survives. He's 21. Cornell is 15. It's 48 for 2 in the after 13 overs. And an update for BBC Headwaters FM listeners will be coming very shortly. Yeah, he should have caught it. I think you're right, Nick.
It was just his left, but it was waist height. Came sharply, but Lloyd isn't express pace, and he did have 2 bites at it as well. Lloyd might have first slip might have dived in.
Yeah, it was one of those, wasn't it? Important that they make it count. Well, it's been a tough start for the home side after they were put into bat. They lost a wicket to the first ball of the game. Ed Pollock out to the bowling of Michael Neeser, lost his middle stump. Jake Libby went for 4. It was 8 for 2 in the 4th over. Something of a recovery being fashioned by Azhar Ali and the rookie Taylor Cornell. Ali is 21, Cornell is 15. He's had a severe blow to the helmet, and we had quite a long break in play for concussion protocols to be observed, but he's recovered. He's still there. He's on 15. Worcestershire battling through the first hour. They're 48 for 2.
So the sunshine disappears to some extent. Well, there's plenty of blue sky to come. It's one of those days where the clouds hopefully will blow over reasonably quickly. And Harris will bowl the 3rd ball of his over into bowl to Cornell. Short delivery that he ducks underneath reasonably comfortably. Be nice to see a day without rain, having had to wait 2¼ hours for play to start on Friday night as Glamorgan played Somerset in the T20, and they managed a 7 overs a side game which Glamorgan lost to all but mathematically eliminate them. I know technically they could still go through, but it would mean about 6 results going through by improbable margins. Harris is in to bowl to Cornell, who's forward defensively, playing to Hogan at mid-off, and there's no run. And then I was due to be playing a club match. Well, technically I played in it, but I didn't actually get on the field because my team were batting, and we had 3 overs before the heavens opened again, having started an hour late. We then hung around in the hope of things drying out, and we were about to take the covers off again when it rained yet again. So it's one of those days. 48 for 2. Harris to Cornell, who will, I was going to say, take a single, but a diving stop by Salter. The backward point prevents him from doing so. So I worked out I spent 5 hours out of the house for 10 minutes cricket, in which I wasn't actually on the field. I was doing the scorebook. I'm happy to point out that the scorebook did add up after 3 overs. As Harris is into bowl, and Cornell has nothing to do with that one as it goes through to the gloves of Tom Cullen. 48 for 2 then are Worcestershire after 14 overs having been inserted. I wasn't called upon to apply my first law of scoring, which is change the leg buys. If anything doesn't add up, change the leg buys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it doesn't affect any individual then.
Absolutely. Well, I've got strong feelings about leg buys generally. Aired them many times, but when people ask that question, what would you change about cricket if you had the chance? I often say I would make a change to the way leg buys are applied as David Lloyd comes in and bowls, and Azhar is beaten outside the off stump. Bit of movement off the seam. I would outlaw leg buys except behind square on the leg side. The reason I'd keep them behind square on the leg side is because if you outlaw them all together, bowlers might go around the wicket and aim at the pads deliberately. But I think when a bowler beats a batsman all ends up outside the off stump with one that nips back and it hits the pads and goes away to the boundary for third man, I think it's ridiculous that the batting side is rewarded. Lloyd again in, bowls, Azza leaves alone outside the off stump, taken by Cullen. That one didn't bounce much, but of course he's not hitting the deck anywhere near as hard as Neeser was earlier.
Yeah, surprised they don't apply that one in franchise cricket to try it out.
Yeah.
Who knows? Or the West Indies has invented a very strange new tournament, which apparently is going ahead just before the CPL.
Yeah, I've heard 48 for 2. And here he is again in, and he's got him down the leg side, strangled, glove down the leg side, I think, Azhar Ali. Unfortunate dismissal for any batsman to go like that, but just angled in at him by David Lloyd, and he just looked to turn it on the leg side, and I think just got a little tickle through, walked straight away, didn't have to be given, and he's caught by Cullen. So, to be fair to David Lloyd, he should have had him in the previous over called it slip, so possibly it would be unfair to say that the strangle was really unfortunate, but Azhar has gone for 21 and it's 48 for 3.
Possibly the most relieved man on the field will be Sam Northeast, who dropped him a couple of overs ago, so that didn't actually cost him any runs at all. 48 for 3. And Glamorgan have the first bonus point of the game. And it's a big wicket, that, Azhar Ali, in this team. I'm not saying that Brett D'Oliveira and Ed Barnard, Gareth Roderick, Joe Leach as well can't make significant contributions. Certainly D'Oliveira has got a double 100 against Glamorgan in his career, and he's played well this year, made 100 in the last championship game up at Chester Street, just coming onto the field now, the Worcestershire captain. But Azhar, as I say, has tended to be the linchpin of the Worcestershire batting generally, although Ed Barnard also got a big 100 at Durham and has played very, very well. But it's a big wicket, I think, with Jack Haynes not in the side. Yeah, Brett D'Oliveira certainly enjoys playing in Cardiff because his best bowling is there as well as his highest score in separate seasons, but
not sure if we'll see him bowl in this game. He might bowl, but he's had a shoulder injury which he suffered at Durham, and he didn't bowl in subsequent T20s. Did bowl a little bit in the warm-up at Edgbaston the other night, and then didn't bowl in the game.
So is there a backup spin to
Josh Baker? Josh Baker is the other spinner. Well, Livy occasionally turns his arm over, and Azhar's occasionally lobbed a few down, but there's not a proper spinner with the exception of Baker other than D'Oliveira. He might be fit again to bowl properly now, I'm not sure. Anyway, he's taken guard, the Worcestershire skipper, and it's 48 for 3, and the third slip has gone back in, and that's Billy Root gone in alongside Northeast, and at first slip D'Oliveira is off the mark, playing this nicely defensively out on the offside for a single. Good run at first slip. You've got Colin Ingram, who's gone in there where David Lloyd was before. One thing I do like, Nick, is the bright numbers on the Glamorgan shirts.
Oh, the USP of the Glamorgan shirts, they're red numbers.
I do, I like it, it's good. Yeah, I think if you're going to have numbers, you might as well make them clear.
Very patriotic.
Very.
There's
a few football teams around, aren't there, with they have numbers and names on, and you can't read them because of the way the font is. Here's Lloyd in again, bowls and beats Cornell outside the off stump with one that just slanted across the left-hander. One imagines his heart rate will have slowed down slightly from about an hour ago when he was getting targeted, half an hour ago, 20 minutes ago, when he was getting targeted by Neeser in particular, but also Harris a little bit. He was just struggling to cope with the pace. Lloyd in now, bowls, and he leaves that alone outside the off stump. Taken low down by Cullen. End of the over from Lloyd. Picked up a big wicket in that over. Worcestershire with the men out. Pollock without scoring. Libby for 4 and Azhar Ali for 21 are 49 for 3 off 15.
So Glamorgan have reached baseline, if you like, having won the toss and chosen to bowl first of 3 wickets. Can they go any further? They have a further 48 minutes approximately in which to do so, as James Harris, who had Cornell in some difficulty with a short pitch delivery in his last over, will now bowl to the diminutive figure of Brett D'Oliveira, who is forward with an ultra correct forward defensive which he practices. The Worcestershire skipper, yes indeed, you could stick that into any textbook and they'd be happy. 49 for 3. Morgan still with the 3 slips in. Fine leg, forward square leg, mid on cover point, third man. Harris bowls and forward comes D'Oliveira defending, back to the bowler, and there's no run. So this Glamorgan lineup with the 4 seamers, the off spin of Andrew Salter. Next option will be the leg spin of Colin Ingram. Billy Root I haven't seen bowl this season, or hasn't bowled in the 2 championship matches he's played. There's Harris in to bowl, a push and run by D'Oliveira, nicely timed, nicely placed into a little gap on the offside. Busy approach to get himself going. He's on to 2, and Worcestershire have gentle applause for the half century, which has been a problematic half century with 2 wickets going very early on, then the bang on the head for Cornell, and losing the wicket of Azhar as well. So it's Glamorgan on top at the moment, as Harris is in to bowl to Cornell. Short leg in place, but that's outside off stump and through to the gloves of Tom Cullen. No run. So Worcestershire have lost Pollock first ball, Libby for 4 and Azhar for 21. A wicket apiece to Neeser, Hogan and Lloyd. Harris, the other bowler used, is into bowl to Cornell, who pulls and gets runs down to fine leg. Will he get 4? There's a sprawling half stop. He might come back for a third actually. No, it's stopped on the far boundary by, I think that's Billy Root. About,
it is Billy Root.
120 metres away from us, on the very opposite side of the ground. Frank has binoculars, so can confirm that it is Glamorgan's number 7, Billy Root. As Cornell had that one reasonably under control, but Glamorgan will be encouraged to see him trying that shot as Harris bowls outside off stump. Cornell plays no shot. 52 for 3. D'Oliveira has 2, Cornell has 17, and we're through 16 overs.
And the men out. Pollock, middle stump uprooted, first ball of the game. Libby for 4 and Azhar Ali for 21. Been tidy from Glamorgan almost exclusively since the start. Possibly there was just one little period, just a couple of times where there were some overthrows and
the no ball
bounce that went over the keeper's head, but other than that they've made Worcestershire work for their runs, and that's key, isn't it? That's what David Lloyd would have been saying in his team talk just before the start of play. Come on guys, give nothing away, make them earn every run, and they've certainly done that almost. Lloyd in now, bowls to D'Oliveira and just gets a single as he turns this down to long leg.
That must be a pretty short boundary on
Yeah,
the
that is
45
short,
by the
yeah.
hotel.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's like at Trent Bridge, isn't it? That one little corner by the scoreboard. It's often short when they drift over to that side of the square, but yeah, it is short. And he picks up one. It's 1 or 4 early down there, isn't it? 53 for 3. D'Oliveira goes to 3. I always say par on the first day.
Mm-hmm.
Lloyd in bowls outside the off stump, bounces twice before he reaches the keeper. I always say par on the first day of any first class game, test match or championship, is about 80 for 3, I think. 80 for 2 or 3 at lunch is par. If you get 4, you've had a really good morning, haven't you? Win or lose the toss. If you get 4, you've had a really good morning. If you only lose a couple and you get past 100, then I think the batting side have had a decent morning. Lloyd in, bowls, corner, 4, wide, short. Best shot he's played, probably, apart from maybe that punch down the ground earlier. Given room, throws his hands through it, good square cut. 4 runs, Cornell didn't need to run, and that would have reached a much longer boundary as well. He goes to 21, he's been brave. He's faced 37 balls, it's 57 for 3. And I was going to say, what have we got, 40 odd more minutes. If they don't lose another wicket, it could be about par. If they do lose another one, then David Lloyd will feel that his team have had a good morning. And he comes in again now and bowls much straighter to Cornell. He gets on the back foot and pushes up to mid-off.
Though watching the way England play these days, who knows what the new par will be.
Exactly.
In Bazball.
Exactly.
Named after the Bazball named after the new coach, Brendan McCullum.
Yeah, it has been extraordinary, hasn't it? It really has.
It was exciting to watch when he had a brief spell at Glamorgan.
Here's Lloyd again in, bowls, Cornell drives up to mid-off. Fielded there by is that Hogan at mid-off? No, it's
Neeser, isn't it?
Neeser, of course it is, Neeser.
So McCullum still holds the equal fastest T20 half century for Glamorgan off 18 balls, along with James Franklin, his fellow Kiwi. McCullum was also one of the most enthusiastic, if not always accurate, outfielders, because he didn't keep wicket for Glamorgan.
Lloyd goes round the wicket to Cornell, and he leaves that alone outside the off stump. End of the over. Lloyd's figures: 3 overs, no maidens, 1 for 8. 57 for 3, Worcestershire.
McCullum would hurl himself around the boundaries, enormous enthusiasm, going head over heels on more than one occasion during that, as I say, fairly brief spell with Glamorgan, but it was fun while it lasted.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. I bet he doesn't do anything slowly.
57 for 3. 17 overs, so the scoring rate is around about 3.3. In fact, it's 3.35. It's on the screen in front of us, so I don't need to do maths.
The interesting thing is what happens when people's minds are freed up, isn't it, to some extent? I always find this fascinating in the game of cricket.
Harris is into D'Oliveira, who's hit on the pad and given out. LBW. Harris becomes the 4th different wicket taker for Glamorgan, so their bowlers have really enjoyed the facilities, having had the chance to bowl first, and D'Oliveira didn't hang around. I think he realised there's a fair degree of certainty, and umpire of finger of Mr. O'Shaughnessy, the umpire went up pretty much straight away, as D'Oliveira was simply missed a straight delivery there, probably have hit middle and leg, I think, as he looked for the drive and didn't execute properly. So James Harris will be relieved to get a wicket in his first spell, and well, he said 4 wickets the bowling side would be on top at lunch, and so I think unless we have a remarkable volley of boundaries from Ed Barnard and Taylor Cornell now, then Glamorgan will have had the better of the first session, as it gets a little bit cloudier, but as I say, with the breeze today, any passing showers should be blown over fairly quickly, you would hope.
Yeah, I think it might be a bit more risky in Wales today, weather-wise, from what I've seen, that the showers might be a little bit more a little bit more threatening, but we're just that little bit further to the east for the band of pretty threatening showers that I saw. If the forecast I saw was correct.
Well, it hammered it down on several occasions in southeast Wales, and certainly at home in Cardiff when I was knocking together a quick online preview of this match. It absolutely hammered down, and there were pools of water on the road in front of our house. 57 for 4.
Big wicket again. One of the most sort of informal Worcestershire batsmen. D'Oliveira gone for 3. Good shout. Looking at it on the replay, and Ed Barnard is the new man. As I say, big 100 at Durham last time out, and a big 100 at Trent Bridge earlier this year as well in a losing cause.
Harris bowls. Barnard plays it down into the gully, thinks of a single. Yes, man batting at number 6 with over 500 runs, an average of 66 is pretty useful to have. Harris 1 for 17 in his 5th over. And the batting to come: Gareth Roderick, Joe Leach, Josh Baker, Dylan Pennington and Charlie Morris. As Harris lopes in from the New Road end, bowls. On the back foot is Barnard, playing on the offside, and there's no run. Does look a bit breezy out there. I mean, it's meant to be midsummer, isn't it? The longest day was last week. And yet there's still spectators, mostly in sort of lightish jackets or hoodies, that sort of thing. It's a 2-layer day anyway out there. We're slightly protected behind glass as we watch from over wide long on as Harris bowls and Barnard defends down into the gully where Salter stoops to field.
Yeah, it's described as a moderate breeze on my weather app, but the first thing I said when I walked into my kitchen this morning, looked out of the window, we've got quite a few trees in the garden and could see them moving quite briskly, and I thought, oh, it's a bit blowy today, and it was quite surprising. I suppose there's no reason why it shouldn't be, I suppose, but
as Harris is in and bowls turned on the leg side, they'll go through for a quick single to get Barnard off the mark. And almost more overthrows as Root's throw was backed up by Salter, but he didn't collect it, and it was backed up again by Carlson. It's 58 for 4.
Yeah, before anybody starts getting in touch and saying why shouldn't it be breezy in June, of course it can be, but it just took me by surprise a little bit, is what I was saying. And looking out now at the lovely vista over towards the cathedral and all the different trees over there, they're all moving quite noticeably, aren't they?
As Harris into the left-handed Cornell and 21 not out, and he will pick up another boundary here as he works it away on the leg side for 4 runs down to the scoreboard. Away to our left on the cathedral side of the ground, and Cornell is now the top scorer of the innings. He has 25 off 41 deliveries and 62 for 4 at the end of Harris's over. Just feels this season as though we haven't actually had much of a run of hot weather yet. There have been 3 or 4 days here or there, and not that much rained off, but apart from last week where Glamorgan rained off in Bristol and then almost rained off on Friday night, but
they haven't had that high pressure that sort of sits over the top of the country for a length of time.
Where is it? Where's the British summer? What date will it be on?
It'll come for the 100, you watch. When there's no county cricket. 62 for 4. David Lloyd is going to take up the attack from the Diglis end, or continue the attack I should say. 1 for 8 so far for him. 3 slips in place as he is about to bowl to Ed Barnard. Barnard's trying to locate the fielder on the onside that's in front of the wicket saving one. It looks, you're surely not going to bowl with nobody there, and Lloyd says no, actually thanks for reminding me, I'll bring a man over from extra cover and move him into mid wicket. And he comes in now and bowls, and Barnard anyway works it on the leg side wide of that fielder and takes a single. goes on to 63 for 4 in the 19th over. So whatever happens, in my book, Glamorgan have had the better of the morning. If you pick up 4 wickets in the first session, that's my reading of it, then you've had the best of it. But fair play to Taylor Cornell, 25 not out, and lets that one from Lloyd go outside the off stump. And the reason I say that is because he's a young man. It's only his second innings in county cricket. His first one ended when he got a shooter from Chris Rushworth up at Chesterley Street on a pitch where nobody else got one.
Oh, I was going to say, you don't see many of those these days.
No, and he was very unlucky, and he's been hit on the helmet. He's been given a bit of a barrage. Lloyd bowls, he's forward, taken on the pad, appeal for LBW. Tom Lungley says no, looking at the replay. It's because he got outside the line of the off stump and he was playing a shot. And he's battled through it, hasn't he? He hasn't at all looked at ease. He's played a couple of nice shots, but he hasn't looked really comfortable. He's just gutsed it out, and I like to see that in a young player. 63 for 4. Walks away to compose himself after that shout, and Lloyd comes in again round the wicket to bowl to him. He bowls, and he again mistimes it, looks to drive. Did he get a bat on it? It was a pad, just dribbled out on the offside, and there's no run. It's hard work, but just got to keep going. One ball at a time. 44 he's faced for his 25. Tough for the young man, the least experienced player, given the most responsibility in some ways now because of the other wickets that have gone down. Leaves this one alone outside the off stump from Lloyd. Goes for another little stroll out to square leg to compose himself. Makes his way back in now. Sun's out again. Nero's looking a picture when the sun's shining. Crowd sparse, I would say. Lloyd in, bowls short. Cornell on the back foot, cuts in front of square, but didn't really time it. Straight to the fielder at extra cover. No run, end of the over. Barnard has 2, Cornell has 25. Worcestershire after 19 overs, 63 for 4.
As well, the 12th man, Dan Douthwaite, jogs on to have a word with Michael Hogan. No visible exchange of equipment or clothing, so maybe just a little tactical word being offered from the dressing room. David Harrison, the assistant coach, is in charge of this game in the absence of Matthew Maynard, though I've no doubt that there will be phone communication between them, as Harris is in to bowl to Barnard, and turned on the leg side. There's no run. Hogan doing the fielding. So Glamorgan have this game, then a short break before Saturday and Sunday action next week, away to Essex. There'll be BBC Wales commentary there.
Quick update coming. Well, it's been a struggle all morning for the Worcestershire batsmen against an accurate Glamorgan seam attack on a greenish pitch, which has offered quite a bit of sideways movement and a little bit of bounce as well for the quicker bowlers. Lost a wicket to the very first ball of the game. Ed Pollock bowled by Michael Neeser. Since then, Jake Libby's gone for 4, and since you were last with us, 2 more wickets, as are Ali caught behind off the bowling of David Lloyd for 21 after a partnership of 40 for the 3rd wicket with Taylor Cornell, and then Brett Dolliver at LBW to James Harris for 3. So that was 57 for 4. Currently 63 for 4 with Ed Barnard on 2, and Taylor Cornell hanging in there on 25.
And the positive news for your commentary team is this luncheon has arrived. Been kindly delivered by one of our written media colleagues. 63 for 4 are Worcestershire, as Harris is into bowl to the tall figure of Ed Barnard, who turns on the leg side, thinks about a single, but Hogan is round from mid-on to mid-wicket to do the fielding. Barnard 2, Cornell 25. In the Test match, New Zealand's 6th wicket pair remains at the wicket. They've added 63 now for the 6th wicket of Henry Blundell and Dal Mitchell. No, not that one. Blundell leading the way on 38 not out. New Zealand lead is 193 as Barnard plays on the leg side. Again, it's a dot ball.
Mitchell and Blundell have been extraordinary in tandem, haven't they, in that series?
Yes, they've scored a lot of runs between them, and looks like that Test match is now back in the balance after England were on top largely overnight, after taking a few wickets between the showers in the final session last night at Headingley. Harris in to Barnard, who pushes out on the offside, no run. Elsewhere in this Division 2 of the LV County Championship, Derbyshire at 83 for 4 at Hove against Sussex. Shan Masood has gone for a mere 46.
Oh, failure.
Leg before the firm, very prolific this season, the Pakistani opener, and there's almost celebrations at Derby earlier in the season when Glamorgan got him out for 60, because I think at that stage it was his lowest score of the season. At Trent Bridge, I presume it's at Trent Bridge, yes it is, Nottinghamshire 94 for 2 against Middlesex. Hasib Hamid 37 not out, Ben Duckett 33 not out, Ben Duckett has just gone for 37. Start of a new over for David Lloyd.
Bowling to the left-handed. Bowling to the left-handed, yes. Taylor Cornell.
Indeed.
Who's on 25 and hanging in there, as I said. And he pushes forward to this one and plays it up to mid-on where Carlson does the fielding.
How many has Lloyd bowled? This is his 5th, so we could see another burst from Neeser and or Hogan before lunch, or an over 2 of spin from Salter, but I think they'll stick with seam.
Lloyd going round the wicket now, and Cornell on the back foot drives but doesn't really time it. Straight to the fielder at short extra cover, and there's no run. 25 to Cornell, 48 balls, but came in at 4, so he's seen 2 wickets go down at the other end. Both senior players, Azhar Ali out for 21 and D'Oliveira for 3. Lloyd in again, bowls, and Cornell whips this down the leg side. That's a great catch by Tom Cullen. Unlucky really, to be fair. That was not a great delivery from Lloyd down the leg side. Cornell went to whip it away, got a good thick edge on it. May well have expected 4 runs, but a super catch by Tom Cullen moving to his right, and that's a real bonus wicket for Glamorgan. It means that the morning is very much theirs, but as an ex-keeper myself, and did you say you're a keeper as well? I think we're both
occasionally, yes,
very appreciative. I thought his footwork was fantastic there. He had to dive, but when you watch the replay and you see how far away that ball was when he took it with 2 hands, that was a cracking bit of work by Cullen. And unlucky for Taylor Cornell, a 2nd wicket for David Lloyd. Worcestershire 63 for 5.
Yeah, Glamorgan well stocked with wicket-keeping talent at the moment as Cornell earns the applause of the pavilion crowd for his battling effort. But Chris Cook out with injury. Glamorgan played the 18-year-old Alex Horton in the T20 games, possibly just on the grounds of his batting being more aggressive than Cullen's, but Cullen has fought hard for first team opportunities, and he's certainly making the most of this one as Gareth Roderick strides the wicket. That, as Frank said, a fine diving catch. No catches down leg side are easy, but the one to get rid of Azhar was relatively straightforward at professional level. That was a real full length one from Tom Cullen, so he's got his name on the score sheet 3 times in the first 5 wickets.
That was a really good catch in my book. I think it was wide, it was a long way. It was a long way. When the distance from the stumps to where he actually took that catch in terms of lateral distance was a long way, and he made ground well. It was one of those where he could easily have half dived it, gone for 4, nobody would have batted an eyelid, but his feet were good. He got across quickly, picked up the line, and it was a cracking catch. And another one now, and you really have had a cracking morning having won the toss, haven't you? 63 for 5, Lloyd in, bowls, and forward comes Roderick, pushing out on the offside, under pressure, played under pressure very well at Durham. Gareth Roderick to save the follow-on in that game, held things together very nicely, but he's not been in the best of form since moving up the M5, as I said, and it's a good opportunity here in a tense situation for him, and he leaves that one alone outside the off stump, and through it goes to the keeper, Tom Cullen, that we're just talking about. I'm just watching that catch again here. Lloyd round the wicket, angled across, and that's a really good catch, I think. Apart from anything else, he's lost sight of the ball at some stage when the ball delivered from round the wicket to the left-hander. As it's gone across Cornell, he's lost sight of it. He's kept moving. It's a good catch. Lloyd again in, bowls to Roderick, lets that go outside the off stump, taken by Cullen. End of another very good over from the Glamorgan skipper in terms of wickets. 5 overs, 1 maiden, 2 for 9. You said he was going to start improving his figures, Nick, and indeed he has. It's 63 for 5.
Yes, it's only natural, I suppose, that when you get into the rhythm of doing a job in the side, you do it better naturally. And using himself in fits and starts at the start of the season as the 5th seamer. Now he's the 4th seamer, and it'll be James Harris, who's 3rd today, to bowl, turned on the leg side by Barnard, and there's no run. So Glamorgan sticking with the 3 slips. Should be all probability Lloyd, North East and Ingram whenever there are 3. 63 for 5 as Harris turns, runs in, bowls down leg side, and Barnard flicked half-heartedly at that, but there's no real attempt to make contact, and through it went to Cullen, this time fortunately for Worcestershire with no bat involved. They've already lost 2 caught down leg side in this first session of play. Bit of sunshine illuminates the playing arena as Harris into Barnard, who drives nicely through the offside, will pick up 4 runs for it, and Worcestershire are getting full value for their shots at the moment because Glamorgan have got 3 slips in, and because it's a shortish delivery, shortish boundary on the Cathedral side of the ground. So Barnard moves on to 6, and the total on to 67 for 5, and Michael Hogan is swinging his arms vigorously at mid-on in the manner of a man who is going to bowl the next over from this end. Doing a few stretches. Harris into bowl. Barnard plays it down in front of him, and there's no run as Harris fields in his follow through and lobs it onto ball polisher in chief Kieran Carlson, the vice captain of this Glamorgan side, who's seems to have quite an active role as vice captain, Lloyd being stationed at slip. So it's Carlson who does quite a lot of the communication with bowlers and so on during overs anyway, as Harris is in to Barnard, who leaves that one go outside off stump into the gloves of Tom Cullen. No shot essayed. Barnard 6, Roderick no score, the not out batsman at the moment. The man out. Pollock first ball, Libby for 4, Azra Ali for 21, D'Oliveira 3 and Taylor Cornell for 25 in that order. As Taylor into Harris into Barnard and played down into the gully. No run. Salterfield's end of the Harris over, and possibly of a 7 over spell, during which time he's bowled 2 maidens and taken 1 for 26. The wicket of D'Oliveira leg before went to James Harris.
Yep. Apparently we've had there's a bit of distortion on the club's stream, but I've been alerted to it. It's not affecting our commentary, and I've just made an adjustment which I hope might have made things better. If you've been watching the stream, and it has improved the audio quality, do let us know. Lloyd bowls to Barnard, and a leg bye, I think. A bye is signalled. Barnard left it, and it wasn't taken cleanly by Cullen. Unusual for him. He's had a cracking morning. He's caught 3 catches. Anyway,
yeah, I think he's in credit.
68 for 5, and Gareth Roderick on strike again. Yeah, I was going to say, if you've been listening and the audio on the live stream has not been good and it has now improved, it would be good to know. You can let me know on Twitter at FrankWatson58. And if not, I'll try and sort it out at lunchtime. Here's Lloyd again, bowls Roderick. Barnard, I beg your pardon. No, Roderick is forward. No, Barnard. It's Barnard. So Roderick was on strike when they got that bye. Pushes out on the offside, and there's no run. 6 to Barnard. Roderick not yet off the mark then. 68 for 5. The men out. Pollock 0, Libby 4, Azar 21, D'Oliveira 3, and Cornell 25.
Yeah, as I always say, I'll say it after this ball.
Lloyd again bowls. Barnard drives beautifully through the covers. Characteristic. Ed Barnard shot, overpitched on off stump, was a half volley, and he just leaned into it. Lovely shot. Bent front knee, high left elbow, just like it should be, out to the boundary underneath the chestnut tree by the marquee. 72 for 5.
Yeah, for the audio problems with the service on the BBC website, then tell us.
Yeah.
If you're viewing and there are problems, tell the clubs, please.
Yeah.
Clubs involved.
Although sometimes
we can have a word, but
it's difficult.
It's not quite our remit, really.
72 for 5 with that boundary. Barnard's second. He goes to 10. And Lloyd is in again to him, and he drives again very sweetly. Probably thought he might have got another 4 there when he saw that one and leaned into it, but he picked out Kieran Carlson at mid-offs. Good stop. It wasn't straightforward. It was travelling, but maybe if he could have just opened the face a little bit more, he might have got that through to the boundary again. 3 slips wait as Lloyd turns. Diglis end comes in and bowls, and Barnard covers up this time, just pushes to the same fielder defensively, and there's no run. Best weather of the day, I reckon, so far. The sun's out, the wind dropped a little bit, the breeze, but still disturbing the many trees as we look across towards the cathedral. Michael Hogan confirming Nick's opinion that he's going to have a ball at this new road end shortly. Has just taken off his sweater and dropped it over the boundary rope as Lloyd bowls, and that's 4 more from Barnard. Another nice half volley, to be honest. Pretty straightforward to put that away wide, and 2 full from Lloyd, who finishes his 6th over with figures of 2 for 17. Barnard's gone to 14, and it's 76 for 5.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll see a double change now. Lloyd having conceded a couple of boundaries, maybe one more from him. But Hogan will have his second blast. We may see a couple of overs from Neeser from the other end, or maybe a little bit of spin so that Neeser is fresh for another 40 minutes bowling after luncheon. So ball back with Hogan on this breezy day. And he'll be bowling to Roderick, yet to get off the mark, and remains that way as he shoulders arms through to Cullen outside off stump. Hogan, I just wonder whether anyone will pick him up for the 100 as a wild card, having bowled really well in the T20, a format that he hadn't actually played in the last couple of seasons. But he's picked up 19 wickets in T20 cricket. And some old-fashioned virtues. Hogan bowls and Roderick defends, seemingly with nothing on his mind than making it to luncheon with an asterisk next to his name. In other words, not out. As Hogan has the ball back in his possession. Arms pumping. Bowls and Roderick forward defensively, playing it out on the leg side. Root jogs in from mid-wicket and fields, and there's no run. So Hogan only bowled the 4 overs in his first spell, which is shorter than usual. David Lloyd has juggled his seamers effectively this morning. As Hogan to Roderick again, clips that on the leg side, and they'll get 4 runs towards the pavilion. Nicely timed, and beat Root at mid-wicket, and it trickles well over the ropes and is retrieved by subfielder Gorvin. Lobs it back to Harris. 80 for 5. Gareth Roderick is off the mark off the 8th ball that he received with the boundary.
Nice shot, wasn't it?
It was. There have been some well-timed shots in the last couple of overs. Barnard with a couple of cover drives off Lloyd, and that flick through mid-wicket by Roderick. Hogan bowls on the back foot. Roderick defends into the covers where Carlson fields.
I think it shows, doesn't it, to some extent, that even on a greenish pitch, even when the bowlers are bowling well, a bad ball's a bad ball. And most of the boundaries today have come from half volleys or balls that drifted into the pads early on. There's not been many, but when they've come along, they have scored off them.
Hogan to Roderick, who defends that one again to Carlson at cover. Again, there is no run, so yeah, the one scoring shot in that over, and it was a boundary though. 80 for 5 after 24 overs. In case you're wondering about the over rates, then we did have break that must have been at least 10 minutes
10
when
minutes, I would think, yeah.
Taylor Cornell was being assessed after a blow on the helmet from Michael Neeser, which led to the very extensive concussion checks before he was past fit to continue. He went on to make 25. It's the leading score so far. Barnard has 14, Roderick has 4, and Michael Neeser.
Yeah, back into the attack, steaming in, but Barnard pulls away, says, hang on a minute mate, I'm not ready yet. And now he does settle over his bat. 3 slips still in place. Neeser in, and well, that wasn't much of a loosener. He raced in and beat the bat with a good one. Good pace straight away. Bowled well this morning, Neeser. 6 overs, 1 maiden, 1 for 16 in his first spell, and he also roughed up Taylor Cornell a little bit. Hit him on the helmet early on, hence that long break that Nick was talking about just a minute ago. Here is Neeser again, right arm over bowls, and Barnard is in behind this, pushing up to mid-on. 80 for 5 then, Worcestershire. Lost a wicket to the very first ball of the match. Poor old Ed Pollock, losing his middle stump to this man Neeser. And when I say losing it, I mean it genuinely catapulted out of the ground. Neeser in, bouncer to Barnard. swayed out of the way, taken by the keeper.
So it'll be Neeser in the afternoon sunshine from the Diglis end.
Sorry, I've been troubled by a cough. Well, I've been told it's to do with this particular pollen that is around at the moment. There's a very high pollen count, but it's unusual for me. Anyway, here's Neeser again. He bowls, and Barnard edges this, genuinely kind of half defeated by that one, pushing at it outside the off stump and sliced down to third man for a single. Hogan fields on the boundary right down in front of us here. We're in a wide third man position when the bowling is from the Diglis end. Barnard goes to 15. Roderick on strike has 4. And Neeser in again to him. Roderick taken on the pad as he looks to work this one away on the onside. An appeal. Umpire Lungley is unmoved. Tall figure, wearing a white cap, as opposed to the Panamas that most of the umpires tend to favour these days. Although umpire O'Shaughnessy at square leg is wearing a rather natty, more sort of baseball style cap, really, I think, as Neeser comes in again and bowls, and Roderick is very studiously forward and pushes out on the onside. Yeah, I haven't seen umpire wear a cap like that for a long time. Steve O'Shaughnessy strolling in. 81 for 5 at the end of that over. Neeser 7 overs, 1 maiden, 1 for 17. And what have we got? We'll probably have 2 more overs before lunch.
Yeah, so 27 overs in the morning, but when you consider there's a 10-minute delay, then it's usually 30 overs or thereabouts with the seamers. So the umpires, I'm sure, will make appropriate allowances, and Glamorgan's over rate shouldn't suffer too much. I'd be surprised if they were worse than -1 after lunch when it goes up on the board. Hogan is in to bowl, push and run on the offside, and they're through for a quick single, and there's a diving stop by Cullen, and Glamorgan have thrown at the wickets quite a lot, but it hasn't always been effective, and there have been a couple of overthrows which wouldn't have pleased Hogan had they added to that. 82 for 5 with that single to Barnard. Shorter figure of Roderick on strike. There's Hogan is in to bowl to Roderick, who defends to cover, fielded by Carlson, and there's no run. So the wickets look to go this morning. Pollock no score, Libby 4, Azrali 21, D'Oliveira 3, and Cornell for 25. Hogan to bowl and defended by Roderick. Again to Carlson. Gareth Roderick. He's hit one very pleasant boundary through mid-wicket, but apart from that has been largely on the defensive as burst of sunshine illuminates the New Road Arena. And Hogan is into bowl, and that's a lovely drive and a good piece of fielding by Harris, diving to his left at mid-on. Prevents what would otherwise have been a boundary to fairly shortish straight ropes. 82 for 5 it remains, and some of the advertising hoardings on this straight boundary have blown over, which shows you how breezy it is. Hogan bowls, a thick edge from Roderick, but perfectly safe past the collection of slips down to third man, just the single taken. It's a pretty short straight boundary, as Glamorgan players will be used to from Sapphire Gardens, where we've had very short boundary for the T20 games because there was the need to put in a physical sight screen rather than just use the usual tarpaulins which took the boundary in 5 metres. Hogan to Barnard, who turns on the leg side, thinks about a single. I'm not sure quite why, because it was heading pretty directly towards Billy Root. 83 for 5, 26 overs gone, and this one will be the last of the morning.
A morning which has belonged to the visitors. Won the toss, took a wicket with the first ball of the game. Can't get much of a better start than that, and they've hammered home that early advantage via some accurate seam bowling. Michael Neeser bowls a bouncer to Gareth Roderick, who ducks underneath it, kept his eye on it nicely, swayed out of the way through to the keeper Tom Cullen, who's taken 3 catches this morning, one of them a particularly good one down the leg side, 2 of them down the leg side, but the one to get rid of Cornell, he had to make quite a lot of ground as well. So he'll have enjoyed his morning's work, the keeper, and David Lloyd will have enjoyed the morning too, having picked up a couple of wickets as well. Neeser bowls, Roderick is forward, pushes up to mid-off, no run. Excuse me. A feeling here in our box that this pitch with its greenish hue is offering considerable help, not too much, but enough help to the bowlers when they get the ball in the right place. It's not a minefield. To be fair, 2 of the wickets have been leg side strangles, as we call them. Neeser in bowls, Roderick turned around a little bit by that one, pushes out on the offside. But there was a drop catch at slip as well, but generally the ball's gone past the bat reasonably frequently, but when the ball's been not in the right place, the batsmen have been able to play their shots. Looks like a decent cricket wicket really. I mean, new ball early on, you'd expect a bit of movement.
Well, yes.
Maybe the sun will take a little bit of that moisture out and it'll just be less green, but we all know, Nick, never comment too much until both sides have had a bowl on it. As this one is an involuntary single for Roderick, who went to play it, then went to pull his bat away, but before he could, it hit his bat and ran down to third man where Hogan fielded, and they got a rather fortuitous single. So 16 now to Barnard and 6 to Roderick, who's not on strike, and it's 84 for 5. But there's just been a feeling all morning that there's something in it, there's something liable to happen for the seamers. Neeser in bowl, and Barnard steers behind square on the offside, no run, and that's why I guess that there's, you know, the old convention. You'll still often see the spinner, don't you, giving an over or 2 before lunch, but no danger of that happening this morning.
Yeah, I think Andrew Salter has had a reasonable amount of work since the first few matches. Certainly had a couple of long bowls which he'll have enjoyed, as opposed to the temporary role as opening batsman, which I think it's fair to say he didn't enjoy very much.
Here comes Neeser, last ball before lunch, he bowls and Barnard steers it behind square on the offside, and Tom Lungley says that's over, that's lunch, and it's been Glamorgan's morning. 84 for 5, and the not out batsman Ed Barnard on 16, Gareth Roderick on 6. I'll just give you the full scorecard. Pollock bowled Neeser without scoring, first ball of the game. Libby caught Cullen bowled Hogan for 4. Azhar Ali caught Cullen bowled Lloyd 21. Taylor Cornell caught Cullen bowled Lloyd 25. Brett Dolliver LBW bowled Harris for 3. Bowling figures: Michael Neeser 8 overs, 1 maiden, 1 for 18. Michael Hogan 6 overs, 1 maiden, 1 for 16. James Harris 7 overs, 2 maidens, 1 for 26, and David Lloyd 6 overs, 1 maiden, 17 for 2. Good morning for the Welsh county.
Indeed, they'll be the happier certainly wandering off to